going to be talking about music education and career development. I'm coming from the perspective of grassroots organizations, so I want us to just talk a little bit about positionality, where I'm coming from, who I'm representing, and so basically it all comes down to social change, right? Nonprofits exist because there is injustice in the world, and there still is. And these injustices are not necessarily all seen and able to be worked on by governments. And so we exist to try and bridge the gap. I'm here as a representative of Bridges for Music in Langa. Who's here from Langa? Hey! Cool. So I have some of my alumni here who have actually gone through our programs. And the whole idea of them being here is to show authentic representation and tailored access. Okay. So some of the questions that I want us to think about, and in our session today, I want us to have a lot of engagement around these questions, because I feel that there are not that many nonprofits who are represented right now in this space. And so it's really important that we do take the space up and ask the difficult questions and have the courageous conversations. And so if we're looking at the key questions for today, I really want to look at this concept of tailored access for our young creatives in underserved communities, where we're looking at creating pathways for success in developmental opportunities that increase authentic representation, accessibility, and participation. I want us to also look at how we can reduce socioeconomic barriers to promote sustainable career development. All right, so before I go to the next slide, I just want to see who's in the crowd here. I know some of us have some corporate social responsibility projects going on, and really think about how those projects are really facilitating this kind of work. Does anyone have any projects that they're currently working on? Yeah.
Well, I work with most dancers in the township.
Okay.
To give them access to an agency work and just being visibly seen and telling their stories authentically without it being scripted, and also helping them with furthering their studies in literature.
Okay, and some of the challenges there is that, I mean, we're not short of opportunities, but we really are short of tailored access. And when I talk about tailored access, I'm talking about the support structures for a specific group, right? Where we are not just asking the question about why the unemployment rate is so high, but we're actually asking the question of what are the historical, cultural, economic, social patterns that have created these kind of elements in the labor market, that has created lack of access. And so, current statistics from last year stood at 4.6 million youth unemployed between the ages of 15 and 34. That's a huge amount of youth, and a lot of these youths are sitting in underserved communities. I want us to also think about how we can include them in participating in spaces like this, where they are present, they are visible, their stories can be heard, and they can be seen. Okie dokes. So, if I'm talking about who our participants are, who are we serving, we're looking at these two different kinds of spaces that they're challenges. We have our external environmental challenges, but we also have the internal challenges as well of the individual. And so, if we're looking at some of these external challenges, sorry guys, I'm meant to be standing here, but I'm very much a movement person. But let me just stick here. So if we're looking at some of the environmental issues, we're looking at financial insecurity, right? Limited jobs, crime, food insecurity, lack of role model access. How many of us have relatable role models, right? Who come back to our communities, who support us, who show us how they did it, right? A lot of the time, our role models leave our communities, right? They get the opportunities and then we don't see them again. And so it's really important that we are bringing our people back and we are uplifting community from within. Another thing we're looking at is, past exposure to traumatic events, lack of education and services, and lack of technology. And so when we're thinking about, designing educational programs, when we're thinking about designing developmental opportunities, are we taking these factors into consideration? Because if we're not, we are not creating pathways to success. Some internal challenges that participants also face is low self-esteem and confidence because they've never been seen or heard. They've never been given a seat at the table. And so how do we then bridge that gap? How do we develop that confidence, that agency within a group of people who are bursting at the seams with creativity, who are bursting at the seams with ideas and a new wave? So if we're looking at these inside world and outside world challenges, we see how it's this reinforcing cycle that keeps people at a disadvantaged, underserved, under-resourced space. So what does this mean for music education? It really means that we have to take a specialized approach. We have to look at music education that recognizes socioeconomic barriers, that looks at the 6 main questions of equity and inclusion. How do we create that? How do we navigate cultural sensitivity? Looking at the kinds of holistic wraparound supports. We saw earlier at some of the environmental and individual inside world challenges. And we're looking at something like financial insecurity. Are our education programs, if we're asking someone to come to school from Monday to Friday, for example, does it support that person with a transportation stipend? Does it support that person with lunch for the day, right? Because a lot of students will come to school and not eat, right? But they're coming for education. Are we looking at supporting just within our education programs, supporting just how we do with food, with finance? Are we doing that in development opportunities as well? Are we asking people from these communities to do volunteer work? And that leads me to my next question. Is volunteer work really going to enable this group? No? Right. So a lot of the time, we speak about industry access and, paving your way and trying to, put as much as you can into your career. But at the end of the day, we have these challenges of financial insecurity. A lot of our students have families to support, have households to support. Do they choose the creative career or do they choose the vocation skill that's going to just give them a salary? So it really comes down to the music industry and the creative industry thinking about, are we allowing young people from underserved communities the opportunity to choose a creative career or not, right? Because this is the question that they have to face every day, right? Do I go and do the volunteer work that's not going to help me support my family in any way, shape, or form, but I'm passionate about this career. I love music. I love entertainment. Do I choose that or I choose to support my family? Do I choose to support myself? Right? And so this is the challenge that we see within a population coming from underserved communities. Okay, so question 4, how do we engage and co-create with communities? Again, coming back to the point of the relatable role models, and also coming back to education programs working with communities rather than imposing specific ways of thought, ideas onto a community, right? And that's really important as well because we want to be able to create and cultivate the culture that exists. Question 5, sustaining long-term investment. Now, we're talking about the music education being a specialized approach, right? And we're looking at educational programs. Sometimes we do a lot of these pop-up workshops that are 2 days, 3 days, and we're giving people stipends, we're giving them food for those 2 to 3 days, and then what happens afterwards? All of the fancy equipment that they use is gone. All of the connections, yes, they might have emails and contacts from the opportunity, but what is really the next step? And so how do we ensure that there is this long-term investment in education, and specifically in education from those from under-resourced communities? Not only within our programs, but within the work experience opportunities, within the gigs that we're playing at. For example, at Bridges for Music, we have a lot of DJs, right? Females who play late at night, right? Who live in the townships. And Uber doesn't go to the townships after a certain time, right? So how do we then get these DJs phenomenally playing in the cities back home, right? And so again, we're looking at these opportunities, they're there, but there are a lot of barriers around the opportunities. And it's about thinking about how are we creating pathways, again, pathways for success. And that leads to our sixth question. Looking at pathway success for graduates of education programs, when we're looking at these work experience opportunities, when we're looking at aligning them with mentors, people in the industry who are going to be able to open doors for them, and looking at how people in the industry who are quite established right now are engaging with communities, are providing that opportunity for mentorship, and if so, when and where does it exist? So I'm going to stop there for now. I'm not sure if anyone here has engaged with any kind of educational programs, whether it be an institution, a nonprofit. I just want to hear from you guys. Yes, can we get a mic? Thank you. Yeah, there we go. And then,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you, first of all, Prashana, for the great presentation. I can relate to a lot of what you said. Actually, I have a question after answering to your question.
Yeah.
Yes, I have worked basically on a program for basically economic and woman economic empowerment, and basically labor insertion of youth that were trained in short-term programs. One of the major challenges had to do with what you said, which is the ecosystem itself. Not the person itself, but the ecosystem. Basically, some of the girls would not go back to the training because their family would not allow them to. And when they had access to an internship opportunity, a woman would not be able to go into that because their husbands would stop them from going. Or they will have to take care of the kids at home. So I basically understand what you say in terms of the environment. I would like basically to explore number 6 in terms of how to create the pathways for success for graduates. Firstly, I would congratulate the Bridges Academy for the work that you guys are doing. It's 10 years now. And you know, I was impressed when I went into the website. I was like, okay, there is mentors from the US, mentors from the UK. I'm not sure if they are mentors from the SA, but okay. What is behind that strategy and what happens after that? Because these experts are international, you know, gurus. What is your experience from what is taking place? What is your plan after that, or what are basically the cases of success that you have experienced so far?
Great.
That's it.
Thank you so much. So thank you for sharing the experiences. I think it's really important that we as educational institutions working with underserved communities really talk about our work and talk about the challenges that we face. And so speaking to point 6, creating these pathways for successful graduates specifically is looking at your educational program and how it has a component that supports the transition, right? Because there is a transition from sitting at school to then working in the real world, right? It's something that not just we in the nonprofit space, but everyone. If you go to UCT, there's a lot of unemployed UCT graduates. It's a similar trend. So when we talk about pathways for success in developmental work, we're looking at engaging, yes, with mentors, right? And creating a sort of program, right, where mentors can buy into, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're able to, as a mentor, be supported through a program, and that might be providing a mentorship outline or guide and really being the point person to support that relationship, right, as an institution, as Bridges for Music. So what we've done is developed a mentorship program, and what that does is, yes, finds the mentors who are interested and takes them through a workshop of how to be a mentor, right? Because a lot of the time we just want to link people together, and that's not always the best case, right? Because people don't understand the cultural sensitivity, they don't understand really where the students are coming from, what their challenges are. So that debrief is so important, right? And so when we do that debrief, we're not only just teaching the mentor about context, but we're also teaching the mentor of how to interact, right? What should your first session of your mentorship look like, right? So if you're having a mentorship program that is 3 months, maybe one session per month, what does session one look like? How can I guide you to be able to get the best out of that, right? What are the responsibilities of the mentor? What is the responsibilities of the mentee, right? And working together as Bridges for Music to bridge the relationship. So I feel with Pathways to Success, after education programs, there is a big responsibility of those who are facilitating education programs to also facilitate the transition, right? The transition for the student or the graduate, and the transition for the industry professional who is now engaging in the sector. Yeah, I hope that answered that question. Cool. We have another question?
I'm to share just briefly
Yeah.
some of the challenges in the
Sure thing.
space. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Morning, sorry. My name is Marlon. I only stepped into the room, but later. However, I can touch base. When I was in George for 2 months, there was kids in those communities where, well, they were underprivileged. They didn't have the best of the best, and just looking at those kids, I wasn't different from them. And before, my sole purpose for going to George was to engage in a program for them and design icebreakers and team building games specifically that will address some of the challenges. And they would go to school, come back to the church, the space where they were at, and it was like a aftercare, a little nasorg. And the kids came there, and before I could actually implement and do session one of them, I had to make sure that their pants are tucked in, make sure that their noses are actually wiped off, and that they're eaten, you know, making sure that I would make jokes with him and ask him, did you actually have a meal this morning? And it might sound crazy, and the kids might laugh at one another, but these are reality, these are challenges. So you can teach a naughty child, but you can't teach a hungry child. So these are real issues, man, and it goes straight to the heart. And what are we doing in terms of creating those pathways? So linking up, yes, but what is there after that? And also understanding where the person comes from, like background understanding is very important, like you mentioned. What does it look like, you know? And just being culture sensitivity. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. Oh, you have a question? Yeah, perfect. Sorry.
Hi. So my name is Dylan. I'm a singer,
Dylan.
and I mean I've been in the industry now since about 8 years. And to be very honest, I'm pretty much in the same place as I was when I started 8 years ago, and I found it increasingly difficult actually to take that next step because there's not a lot of information or opportunities to say, okay, how do you get to that next step? And I mean, I studied music for a while. And again, I was in the same boat as I was when I started as when I ended. And even I know a lot of friends who went to like UCT and those sorts of things. And unless you're going academically into music, whether you're going to play those academic pieces or you're going to teach music or something like that, you're kind of on your own. And it's probably a South Africa problem or maybe an Africa a problem in general. But I mean, there's not a lot of... I mean, if you're trying to do your own sort of content, your own original music and stuff like that, it's very much a blind leading the blind situation at the moment. And it also doesn't help because it's not a unified body of musicians or anything like that. I mean, you find a lot of times there'll be venues and things that will try and cut you out in terms of quotes and things like that, just because that guy around the corner will play for less, and there's no sort of baseline of this is what we're gonna charge, and everybody sticks to that. It's very difficult to try and move your career along when everybody's playing different games at the same time.
Exactly. And it's a lot more difficult to do that when someone knows that you're coming from an underserved community, right? You're not coming from an established institution where you can, you are paying the fees to get that sort of exposure through career services that are aligned with a specific institution or program. And so when it comes to the nonprofit space, we too need to create our career services and really establish that side of the world, of the work that connects to our specific programs. Now at Bridges for Music, we have our 5-month music program that is quite intensive, Monday to Friday, supporting our students over music production, entrepreneurship, career growth, and mindfulness and meditation. And now the reason why we have such a holistic program is that it supports our students throughout various education barriers, right? So it's one thing just to teach music production or just to teach vocals, but what are you going to do with all of those things, right? Do they understand exactly what the transferable skills they are learning in those programs, right? And so it's about really being very upright and forward about, this is what you guys are learning. These are the transferable skills. This is how you can use these skills to enter into the market. And here is an opportunity where you can try to do that. Yeah.
Should I stand? Is it fine when I sit?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stand. Hi everyone, I'm Talia. So I work for Africa Tikkun, which is also a non-for-profit. Just a brief, we are an after-school program for children in Fuleni. We've got other centers in Joburg. So we're basically getting these children computer skills and everything else that they need. They do get food because we all know it's quite tough out there. They also go through trauma counseling because some of their homes are also their barriers. So in particular, I'm working on a course for grade 8s and 9s. I just wanted to understand, is there anything that maybe we can collaborate on in terms of bringing them in for job shadowing? Because the reason we are targeting grade 8s and 9s is because just before they choose their subjects, some of them, you come with subjects chosen for you by your parents. Because if anyone grew up the way I grew up, my mom was like, you're going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a big disappointment in terms of that, but she never knew that I would become an e-learning specialist. But I enjoy what I do, and I'm a creative in that. Innovation is one of the pillars that Africa Tikkun does on a Friday, where the kids get to sing, but I'm looking at kids that are just singing because this is fun. But I can see a talent that won't go anywhere as well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to understand, is there any, not only after school, but even during the school process, like job shadowing, where they can get to learn what they can become before they hit that milestone? Because I don't want matriculants that are now thinking, oh, okay, now I have to, these are the subjects I kind of have. I want them to be like, okay, according to the subjects that I can choose, this is the life that I want to lead. Because then they've got a bit more ammunition out there. Because going to a parent saying, I want to be a musician, and then going, yeah, for grade 9, for grade 10, I'm just gonna choose any random subjects. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So the research also needs to come from that aspect. So that's my first question.
Yes.
My second question is, we've also got a demographic of 18 to 21, where these children don't get access to anything. They're sitting at home, they're not doing anything. And we do have a career building 4-month course as well that we do with them. But I just wanted to understand from a music perspective, is there anything that you guys offer that might not be financial, that you can target for a specific group of children that might not have anything?
Cool. Thank you so much for your questions. So when it comes to, there's a lot of nonprofits working in the space, but I think our biggest challenge is that we're not connected. We don't see each other, we don't work together, we're duplicating work, we're working with the same populations, and I think my call to action here would be to come speak to us at Bridges for Music and come to our campus and see what we do and see how we can collaborate through our curriculums, because essentially we're designing specific educational tools that are speaking to a specific population. And so it's about really understanding, like you've said, understanding who is receiving this education, and then understanding how do we then deliver. Right, so that needs assessment is really important. What you're talking about, what do the students need to be able to be successful? And so I really think that, collaboration, right? We call our students co-creators, right, at our campus, and we do that intentionally because it is all about collaboration. It is all about co-creating what we want the world to be, a world that is pushing social change, diversity, inclusion, and is pushing tailored access for this group of people so that we can change what society currently is looking like. Okay, come and talk to me. Yes.
This is absolutely fantastic, just by the way. Props to Bridges in Music.
Thank you.
So, hi guys, my name is Nolo. I am the operations manager at the Music Publishers Association of South Africa, MPASA for short. And one of our very primary mandates is so our membership base is publisher businesses, right? So obviously then it's a bit of a more niche and smaller member base, but that's fine because you get to really hone into the intention of impacting their businesses and empowering them by helping them develop and grow their businesses. So the way that we do that is create tailored workshops, webinars, information packs. And I just want to quickly speak to what you had said earlier as somebody who's in the industry. So associations like ours, actually, like every single day, our mission is to package information that is easy for you guys to access. It's to deliver like important information of like knowing that you don't have to be famous to necessarily get an income in the music industry. It's really just trying to shine a light on the many legs that actually exist in the industry. And so it saddens me when you hear this consistent, I don't really know what to do, and I don't really have information, because I can guarantee you the information is out there. So I guess the problem is how it's packaged.
Yes.
I guess it's really a packaging thing. And that's a lesson for us. And, I spoke with Prashana was it yesterday or at the beginning of the conference.
Event.
And as she was speaking now, a collaboration is about to happen, because now they are educating these students who have a potential of contributing economically, right, to the industry, and then we come as the information givers. So that's just the one point I wanted to address, to say, look, there is information out there, but I think it's also for us to do better and figure out how to communicate more clearer. The second point I wanted to make with your education packages and like the way that you consider really like all the circumstances that exist within this child that is, in the township. So a few years ago, I was young and I had the courage to go to a specific township in Pretoria, Mamelodi, of which I stay next to, and I grew up in Pretoria. And I had this burning passion to start a chain of choirs, right, at the different high schools, and particularly speaking to grade 9s, and I successfully got one school that was like, the world is your oyster. We don't have a choir. We don't have anything. So do your thing. And I established a choir called the Harmony Choir. And I got 50 students who were all eager. They looked at me like I was some kind of celebrity, but they were so they were so happy at the intention and the attention that was poured into them. Something as simple as teaching them, I believe I can fly. And, you know, the intention of why I wanted to do this was to create a culture within them, a culture of discipline, a culture of togetherness. I wanted them to be proud of something. And so hearing this today, I'm like, the reason why it didn't last is because these were all the issues that you had to face. Some days there would be 10 students that are not there because they have to go home, because they have to go take care of the house because the mom is working. Some days the kids just don't have like any money to come back because the choirs, the sessions were in the afternoon. So this is so carefully and so beautifully curated, you know, and I know that obviously your institution is way more educational, but like, I think these are pearls of wisdom for us to leave with, that, guys, you can have the fire, you can have the courage to start something, but you have to really contextualize and consider the person that you're trying to impact.
Exactly.
You know, you're not just preaching, understand who you're preaching to. So
Exactly.
big ups to you. Big ups to you, Bridges in Music.
Thank you so much, guys. I think we've run out of time, but just before I close, I just want to go through one thing. So I'm a career coach. That's what I do. And so what I'm showing you guys now is kind of one of the many frameworks, but it's kind of my Bible for career coaching and how to find sustainable work, because sustainable work is work that has meaning and purpose. Right? And so if we look at this ikigai concept, which means a reason for being, when work becomes a reason for being, it becomes sustainable, right? And if we're thinking about teaching youth what work should be, it should be a reason for being, not a reason for surviving. And so what we see with a lot of our youth is that they sit in the vocation space, just here. They sit there. Because what they are being, well, the skills that are being pushed to them are specific skills that our country needs, right? Or specific needs that our country needs that they can be paid for. And so what they're missing out on is the passion, the mission, and to be able to actually build a profession. And building a profession is really what career development is. It's about creating that sustainable, long-term career for somebody, rather than the odd jobs that we're doing to financially support ourselves. So I think it's really important that we touch on this, because I know it's music and career development, but it's all in all a program or a mindset that should be thought about as one thing. Music education and career development should be looked at from a perspective of ikigai. All right, and that's where I leave you guys today. Thank you so much.